Assalamualaikum, we are from Group 1. We want to share about our research methodology on factors determining sales of foods and beverages industry in United States of America. And also our presenter. First is me, Ali Imran bin Muhammad Nur Bahri. Second presenter is Nur Nazurah Nadia binti Jabri. Third presenter is Muhammad Shazwan bin January. And lastly, our Nur Christina binti Muhammad Jamil. A little bit on the introduction. As we all know that this project is about food and beverage industry sales in the United States. According to the USDA Economy Research Services, the US food and beverages industry has supplied about 2.2 trillion US dollar worth of food in 2021. According to another organic trade association, organic food sales in the US reached about 52 billion in 2018, which is growing by 6.3% from the previous year. An emerging trend in this industry pertains to the escalating popularity of niche dietary preference, including gluten-free, vegan, and also ketogenic diet. On the problem statement, we have stated that the food and beverage industry in the United States is facing increased competition from online retailer and also changing consumer preference towards healthier and organic options, while the other one is supply chain distribution due to COVID-19 pandemic. So moving on to the research questions, we have identified that first is what is the relationship between the unemployment rate with the sales of food and beverage industry in the United States. Second question is that what is the relationship between the inflation rate with the sales of the food and beverage industry in the United States of America. And the last one is what is the relationship between population with the sales of food and beverages industry of the United States of America. After that, we're going to have the objective of the research, where the first one is to investigate the relationship between unemployment rate and the sales of food and beverages in the United States of America. The second one, to investigate the relationship between the inflation rate and the sales of food and beverage in the United States of America. And of course, the last one is to investigate the relationship between the population of the sales foods and beverages in the United States of America. Moving on, for statement hypothesis, first for unemployment rate. HO is there is no significant relationship between the unemployment rates with sales of food and beverage industry in the United States of America, while the H1 is there is a significant relationship between the unemployment rate with sales of the food and beverages industry in the United States. For inflation rate, HO is there is no significant relationship between inflation rate with sales of food and beverages in the United States of America, and the H1 is there is a significant relationship between inflation rate with sales of food and beverage in the industry of United States of America. While for the population, HO is there is no significant relationship between population with sales of food and beverages industry in the United States of America, and also the H1 is there is a significant relationship between population with sales of food and beverages industry in the United States of America.
Okay, now I will explain about literature review. It consists of dependent variables, independent variables, and also research framework. First is dependent variable is the variable that changes as a result of the independent variable manipulation. It's the outcome you are interested in measuring, and it depends on your independent variable. The dependent variable that we choose is sales of food and beverage industry in United States of America. Next is independent variables. Independent variables is the variable that you manipulate or vary in an experimental study to explore its effects. It's called independent because it's not influenced by any other variables in the study. The the independent variable that we choose are unemployment rate, inflation rate, and also population. Moreover, the research framework was used to support or propose the dependent and independent variables as a theory to explain potential study challenges. It may also reveal a relationship between the independent variable and dependent variable, which is the sales of food and beverage in the United States of America. I will explain more details after this. Okay, our dependent variables that we choose is sales of food and beverage industry in United States of America. The food and beverage business in the United States contributes significantly to the country's economy, generating billions of dollars in annual sales. Mm, Next, according to the National Restaurant Association, the business will produce over $899 billion in revenues by 2020, employing over 50 million people. However, the sector saw a large drop in revenues, roughly $240 billion, as a result of the COVID-19 epidemic. Moreover, the food and beverage industry are a varied and dynamic industry that comprises a wide range of firms, including fast food chains and fine dining restaurants, as well as grocery stores and convenience stores. However, the industry is also affected by the fluctuation in the economy, consumer preferences, and also purchasing power, as well as government regulations. For example, the rising minimum wage and increased competition from online retailers have put pressure on traditional brick and mortar retailers. To summarize, the food and beverage business in the United States contributes significantly to the national economy, generating billions of dollars in sales and employing millions of people. Despite a drop in sales as a result of the COVID-19 outbreak, the industry is likely to recover once the company stabilizes. Next, move to the independent variables. First independent variable is unemployment rate. The unemployment rate in the United States of America is a measure of the proportion of people in the labor force who are unemployed yet actively looking for work and willing to accept it. Um, According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics in 2020, the national unemployment rate in the United States has fluctuated over the years, influenced by different economic factors such as changes in GDP, consumer spending, and also job creation. The national unemployment rate in the United States was 6.7% as of December 2020. This figure is a considerable decline from April 2020 when the national unemployment rate reached a 9-year high of 14.8% as a result of the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. In conclusion, the unemployment rate in the USA is an important indicator of the health of the labor market and economy, but it's important to consider other factors and a broader perspective to fully understand the situation. Next independent variable is inflation rate. According to the Bureau of Economic Analysis, the inflation rate is a measure of the rate at which the general level of price for goods and services is rising and also subsequently purchasing power is falling. It is typically measured as the percentage change in the price index, such as the CPI, Consumer Price Index, or the PPI, the Producer Price Index, over a specific period of time. Next, in the United States, the inflation rate is measured by the Consumer Price Index, which is published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we call as BLS. According to the BLS in 2020, the inflation rate in the US has been relatively low in recent years, averaged around 2% per year. In 2020, the inflation rate was 1.4%. So, it is important to note that inflation can have a variety of causes, including changes in monetary policy, changes in global commodity price, and also shift in supply and demand within the economy. Factors such as the COVID-19 pandemic and government stimulus measures also have an impact on inflation. And the last independent variables is population. The Census Bureau defines population as the total number of people in a specific area or country. It can refer to the population of a given geographic region or demographic group. Population data is used for a variety of purposes, include estimate the size of a market for goods and services, assessing community needs, and also assessing the effectiveness of governmental programs. Next, according to the United States Census Bureau in 2020, the population of the United States was roughly 331 million as of July 2020. In addition, this reflects a growth of around 7.4% over the 2010 census population of 308 million. The United States in the world's third most populated country, trailing only China. The United States population is also highly diverse, with people of many various racial and ethnic backgrounds. According to the 2020 census, white people account for 76.5% of the population in the United States, followed by Hispanic or Latino, which is the 18.5%, Black of African America, 13.4%, and the last is Asian, 9.9%. The population of the United States is also highly urbanized, with around 82.7% of the people residing in cities. The three most populous cities in the United States are New York City, Los Angeles, and also Chicago. Next, as you can see at the slide, is the research framework. It shows that to reveal a relationship between the independent variables such as unemployment rate, inflation rate, and also population, and the sales of food and beverage industry in United States of America as a dependent variables. Mm, First, the relation between unemployment rate and sales in the food and beverage industry in the United States is positive, with a decrease in unemployment rates leading to a decrease in consumer spending on food and beverage, and also increase in unemployment rates leading to an increase in consumer spending on food and beverage. Second, the relationship between the inflation rate and sales in the food and beverage industry in the United States is generally negative, with an increase in inflation rates leading to a decrease in consumer spending on food and beverage. However, there are also factors that can mitigate this relationship, such as the specific causes of inflation and the availability of disposable income. And the last, the relationship between the population growth and sales in the food and beverage industry in the United States is also positive. But other factors such as economic conditions, consumer preference, and competition also have an impact on the industry. I think that's all from me. Next, continue the presentation.
According to the CRESWET in 2018, research methodology refers to the systematic process utilized to gather and analyze data to address the research question guiding a study. Okay, so for this research study, it also makes use of Statista and macro trend to find data relevant to our research. Statista is actually a statistic portal that provide data and statistics on over 600 industry from more than 22,000 sources. And according to Statista, it offer access to data and insight from market research, consumer data, and business data. Why for macro trend? Macro trend is a financial data and research website that provide historical and current financial market data, stock market data, and other financial data, such as exchange rates, commodity price, and real estate. And according to macro trend, it also provide financial market research and analysis, as well as macroeconomic data such as GDP and inflation rates.
So we will continue with data analysis. So there are four data we will analyze, which are descriptive analysis, correlation, regression, and normality test. So the first, we will go to the descriptive analysis. So basically, descriptive analysis is a type of data analysis that helps in the constructive explanation, visualization, or summarization of data points in order for patterns that suit the needs of the data to emerge. So in descriptive analysis, we will look the lowest, maximum, mean and standard deviation for dependent variables and independent variables. So for mean, for the first independent variable, the mean is 2.507951 and unemployment rate 5.807742 and population is 0.889327 and the maximum for inflation is 8.0028, unemployment rate 9.63 and the last independent variable, which is population, is 1.388686. So for the mean, which is the average of the variable, the mean for inflation is 2.507951, unemployment rate 5.807742, and the last, which is population, is 0.889327. And the last data in descriptive analysis, we will look standard deviation. So the standard deviation for each variable is inflation is 1.445872, unemployment rate 1.658030, and the last for population is 0.282206. So that's for descriptive analysis. So we will continue with correlation analysis. So in correlation analysis, we will look two things in correlation. The first one, using the Bruch-Godfrey LM test, which is PLM test, the researcher can figure out if there is evidence of serial correlation in the residuals of the regression model. So the value of p-value and f statistics and the observation r square are 0.023957. It shows that it's less than the typical significance level of 5% or 0.05. As a result, the f statistic is 7.970840 and the observation r square is 11.97372, and then the probability f is 2 to 4 and the probability chi square is 2. Both are 0.0022 and for probability chi square is 0.0025. Thus the null hypothesis is rejected because there is no serial correlation at up to legs. In other things we look for correlation is Durbin-Watson statistic. Durbin-Watson statistic in regression data. So we can say that there is a serial correlation in the residuals. It is because the result from the data is 2.166150, which the value is more than 2. So it indicates that they have the presence of positive correlation since the value is toward 0. Additionally, the acceptable range is between 1.5 until 2.5, which is a small successive error difference. So we will continue with regression analysis. So the linear dependency of the independent variable or dependent variable from one or more variables is instead described using regression analysis. So in regression analysis, we will look about f statistic value, adjusted R square, and the probability for each variable. So for f statistic value is 15.23418, and our p value for the f statistic is 21.58987. As a result, the null hypothesis fails to be rejected since the value has a significant label greater than 0.05. So we go to the adjusted R square. Adjusted R square is 0.68051, or we can exchange to percent, which 68.05%. It indicates that 68.05% of the variation in dependent variables can be explained by three independent variables that are inflation rate, unemployment rate, and population. So we will go to the probability for each variable. So the first is we will go to the population. The probability for population is 0.000, which is less than 0.05, and it shows a significance, and we must reject the null hypothesis. So we go to the second variable, which is inflation rate. So the probability value for the inflation rate is 0.0576, which is more than 0.05. So the null hypothesis is accepted. And then the last variable is unemployment rate. So the probability value for this variable is 0.7792, where it is more than 0.05, and it shows statistically not significant. So we must accept the null hypothesis. So that's all for regression analysis. So the last graph we will go is normality test. So based on the figure, it show that Jerquebera is 6.4599914, and the relative probability value was 0.039559. Since the probability value is not exceeding 5% significant, the null probability should be rejected, and it came with a result that the data are distributed not normally. Furthermore, the skewness of this data is 0.672469, meaning that the skewness is the positive value of skewness as indicated in the data, and the data skewed to the right, while the tail will be longer on the right. This also indicates that the high end of the distribution had a lower number of occurrences. Then, based on the figure, it shows that the kurtosis is 4.832777. So the value shows that the data set has a smaller tail than an abnormal distribution when the kurtosis value is less than 7. So as the result from the kurtosis, the data of a normal distribution. But for all the thing we look, first Jerquebera not exceeding 5%, so it's not normally distribution. So as a result, our graph is not normal. So that's all for data analysis.
Okay, so for the implication of sales of food and beverage industry in United States of America, the food and beverage industry in the United States holds substantial implication for both economy and society. It constitutes a vital contributor to the nation's GDP and generates numerous employment opportunities for millions of Americans. Moreover, the food and beverage industry wield a significant power in shaping public health. Through extensive marketing efforts, it significantly influences consumer choices. This, in turn, has raised concern regarding the industry role in contributing to the obesity and chronic disease epidemic by promoting unhealthy products. Due to its far-reaching impact, the food and beverage industry is subject to various regulation and policies, encompassing labeling and advertising regulation, food safety law, and agricultural subsidies. Additionally, its sales and operation are influenced by trade agreement, tariff, and other international trade policies. Okay, for the limitation of sales of food and beverage industry in United States of America, the food and beverage industry in the United States operate within the fiercely competitive and dynamic market, while numerous companies strive to capture market share. A primary constraint encountered by the industry is intense competition, which can hinder smaller enterprise success and restrain overall sales growth for all players. This challenge is particularly daunting for new entrants for whom must contend with well-established competitors. Another significant limitation faced by the industry is this ever-changing preference of consumer. Recently, there has been a noticeable shift to health and wellness, with consumers seeking organic, non-GMO, and artificial ingredient-free products. And companies that fail to adapt to this evolving preference um, encounter difficulty in sustaining or augmenting their sales figure. Moreover, ensuring food safety constitute another major concern for the industry, and company risk substantial financial loss if their products are linked to foodborne illness. Furthermore, strict adherence to food safety regulation can prove costly to implement and may impede sales if not adequately met. Okay, for the recommendation, the food and beverage industry in the United States play a vital role in contributing to the nation economy and society. Nevertheless, it faces an array of challenges that necessitate careful consideration and strategic response from companies in this sector. The first recommendation is the company should proactively adapt to the shifting landscape of consumer preference, keeping a keen eye on emerging trends related to health and wellness. Organic product and non-GMO option is crucial. By aligning their product offering and marketing strategy with this evolving preference, company can better capture and retrain consumer interest. Secondly, food safety should be a top priority for industry player. Investment in advanced technology and improved process can help mitigate the risk of foodborne illness and safeguarding consumer health and bolstering consumer trust. Complying with stringent food safety regulation is essential to maintain credibility and public confidence. Thirdly, embracing sustainability practices is imperative for companies seeking to address environmental concerns and meet the growing demand for eco-friendly products. By reducing greenhouse gas emission, water usage, and waste, business can demonstrate their commitment to environmental stewardship.